What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to take a look at the back and forth debate of will Radio Silence come back for Scream 7? Will they not? So this is quickly becoming, I do believe, a thing in the Scream community. It may not be this thing for everybody. I'm sure a lot of people that go to see the movie, just kind of casual people, they probably don't even know who Matt, Tyler, Radio Silence, like any of these people actually are, right? I think, and we've always been kind of clear with that. I think a large amount of just the general viewers of these movies truly could care less about a lot of these things. However, for us diehards, and I do think it's made a wave, I've seen a lot of this talk on YouTube, on Twitter, all over the place, of there's genuine concern, I think, of will they actually come back. So there was an interview that was done with, I believe, Guy, right, one of the writers, and he was asked, now the way he was asked, he was kind of asked about post-Scream 7, about, would you keep writing? And remember, Guy and Jamie, they're kind of detached, right? They're in their own little group, and then you got Radio Silence. And the way that he answered the question, I think, scared people. I think that's fair to say. He basically talks about new blood or fresh blood. Now, the way I read the quote, the way I listened to that interview was more, for Scream 7, I do believe the plan is to have everybody return, okay? I'll talk about that in a second. I think once you get past Scream 7, and I think this will start to be more and more clear as the next, year or so goes on, I think Scream will continue. I think they want to continue it. I think they'll do it probably quicker than you may imagine, right? My default's always maybe a 5-year break. Maybe you give it 5 years. It could be sooner than that. Because you think Scream 6 did so well, if Scream 7 can do just as good as Scream 6, which I think is possible, okay? It can do that. Why would you take 5 years off? I think you probably just keep... Now, this may not be, in terms of the quality, the best idea, but in terms of money, which a lot of these, executives are all about, if you can make the same amount of money every single year, you can keep churning it, why would you stop? Why wouldn't you keep going until you start to see a downfall? Now, I do think you need to give it time to breathe, and I do think executives kind of understand that as well, but I think it wouldn't be 5 years. I think it would actually be probably shorter, but here's the deal. I think after Scream 7, the plan would be to move on from Radio Silence, mainly just because to give it something new, okay? You did your 3, you did a great job, you brought Scream back from the dead, you made it very successful, but you need to keep it fresh, we need to keep going. I think Guy and Jamie could continue to write movies after Scream 7, which, by the way, if I were to swap out any of them, I'd probably swap the writers out. It's odd that he's asked the question, he talks about new blood. I guess I'm reading it more as the directing side of things, the producing side of things. I think everybody should probably then swap out, if you're going to have a whole different directing team come in on Scream 8. I don't think it should be the same writers as Scream 5, 6, 7. And if anybody has a problem with Screams 5 and 6, I'd say right now, it's probably more so towards the writing rather than how it's shot and the actual direction of the film. I think it's more towards the writing department. So that would be my 2 cents. I would say after Scream 7, maybe you kind of just replace all of them. But in terms of Scream 7, again, those kind of comments, and Radio Silence has been, when they've, Matt and Tyler and all of them, really Chad, when they've done their interviews around the time of Scream 6, non-committal. Now, they've talked about, or Jenna has talked about, she's still talking to them about possibilities for Scream 7 of, where they're going to take it, where they're going to go. But then there's also a lot of talk of how busy they are and all these other projects and all these other movies that they're going to be doing. Again, I think the idea is and by they, I guess I mean the executives, so the Paramounts of the world. Paramount would probably wait for them. I think they're in a position of strength. I think they're in a position where, do you want a new, and I think this would actually be a horrible idea, do you want a new directing team to come in the third act, the final film of this trilogy, with these characters that weren't started with them, they've never worked with them before, and you have to end them? Now, not necessarily, you would probably kill some of them, but, just end their storyline or end this arc in their storyline. I think that'd be an atrocious idea. If anybody's going to do it, it should be the group we already have. So all the writers, the producers, the directors, everybody, they all do it. And you kind of sink or swim with it, right? If Scream 7 is successful. Now, again, I think no matter how successful or not successful it is, I think everybody would be on the same page that if any of these movies does terrible, right? Absolutely bombs or something, or super upsets people, whatever, that the entire visionary team would be replaced. I think that's probably known from the executives to the creative team to us, the fans. I think we were fully prepared for, look, if this does well, you obviously keep them. If it doesn't do well, it's the business. You get rid of them all, right? Again, I think at the end of Scream 7, it's more of a decision of, hey, this was a really good partnership. This worked, but also you've been kind of living and breathing. I'm talking about Radio Silence. They've been living and breathing Scream for so long. They want to do other things. Maybe they want to do Scream, but now would be a good breaking point, right? Maybe they feel that now. Maybe they feel, well, we'd like to do Scream 7, but we'd like to maybe take a couple of years, and Paramount's like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. That makes more sense for 7, where you can have that debate. Okay, we'll wait for you. We'll wait for Radio Silence to do what they want to do, and when you're ready, we'll make Scream 8. We're ready to go. Or at that point, you decide, this was a great deal. This is a great partnership. We're done, though, and we're going to go a different direction because we want these movies to keep the pace up, right? You can do that. But to do that now for Scream 6 to Scream 7, I think that would hurt. That would hurt quite a bit. Although you'd have the same writers, like that has definitely been said enough in these interviews. I think that's set in stone, right? Guy and Jamie are going to be the writers for Scream 7. They've probably already written it. The directing team, again, I think there's enough out there. I know people have talked about, they are filming a movie, I think one like Australia or something, and they're filming from May to July. So it is just going to be a situation where you wait them out, where you wait for them, right? So they come back in July, give them a little breather. September or October, you get going. I think this is like, okay, we'll wait for you, but only to an extent, right? Like, we'll let you do other things besides Scream. You're allowed to do that. But we do want to get this started, in 2023. So if we can get this filmed by October, November, we could start filming then. That would be ideal. I think that's what, like, the executives, the people in their nice little suits, I think that's probably the mindset that they have. If it took any longer, if you said, okay, because I could understand this. If you said, okay, we want these Scream movies, Radio Silence, like, well, we really can't do it until 2024, maybe like late 2024 is when we can start filming it. That would be a breaking off point. I don't know the contract situation. I'm sure it's not like an ink that they have to do it, that everybody's like agreed to it. I'm sure they can negotiate each one. So I think it'll happen. I think the worry is definitely, I think it's warranted. I think for what, it's non-committal. They haven't really committed to doing it, whereas 5 to 6 just happened so quick. Everybody on board. It just was such a fast turnaround. It's not that for right now. So they're probably working on schedules, and maybe, we've talked jokingly, but also not jokingly, about like Jenna Ortega being in demand, and you're gonna have to find a spot that works for her. Honestly, you may have to find a spot that works for Radio Silence, and that's probably what they're doing. That's probably why this hasn't been announced yet. Yeah, maybe the script isn't done yet. I think it probably is, more done than not done. But I think the biggest issue is probably, okay, getting everybody together, because you have to plan that, right? When's this 2-month period where everybody's available? And by everybody, I don't just mean the talent, because you do have to worry about that, and that's a big deal. But also, when can you guys film this stuff, and then post-production, all that stuff? That's probably what they're doing right now, like every single day. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're all subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.